Alex Karp, Palantir's CEO, is really effing happy the Rebels won. Palantir just dropped a 6-minute gem on their YouTube channel, with Alex Karp talking through his thoughts on the announcement of Palantir getting accepted into the S&P 500, as well as other leaders throughout the company posting on X. So check it out when you have a chance, but in Karp fashion, he gives the story of Palantir going against the grain, working with clandestine services, supporting the West in their mission, unapologetically, of course, all along the way, but also throughout their journey of building their products from, say, Gotham, the Ontology, Foundry, and AIP today, as well as the numerous number of partners and quality of revenue they've built up over time. And he also points out, too, how they've built their organization to eventually be the one who gets into the S&P all along, because it's a byproduct of the work that they've put in and all the efforts they've done that have led to this achievement. So I think it's cool that Karp put this out to show his thoughts on the S&P inclusion and also shouting out retail investors. And also, the newest head of defense who joined recently, Mike Gallagher, pointed out Palantir is the first defense company since 1978, or 46 years, to make it to the S&P 500. And he also notes how the broader defense space needs to participate in this drive for competition and innovation. And he further replies on the importance of how history has fueled this innovation and the development of Silicon Valley and elsewhere to create the next generation of defense technology, as well as noting how important this is all to prevent a World War III. So it's up to you if your views on if you agree with this, but either way, it's nice to see the perspective. Also along a similar sentiment too is an X post by Palantir's global head of commercial, Ted Mabery. He goes over why being accepted is important to them and has been an internal goal actually for them over the last several years. So it's not like they just stumbled upon this and knew the requirements in order to do so, although some probably thought this started way later when Karp put out his letter about the share structure requirement being much easier to get into the S&P. But it still sounds like they were eyeing this even before then. And more importantly, he notes it's nice to have good stock performance too, but it's not the end all be all for them focusing on the business. And this is also what I've been saying, where customers pay attention to this stuff, and not necessarily specifically, oh, because you're in the S&P, we like you and we automatically trust you, but similar to how, look at Harvard kids, right? They graduate here and then they get into the school, which means it speaks volumes of what they've achieved to get in. Well, it's just like how Palantir got into the S&P. There are things that they had to do. And he notes this is important that they went through the different route of foregoing an IPO where Wall Street makes their cut, but rather going for a DPO, direct public offering, and then being able to achieve profitability on a GAAP basis, and then also showing these potential and current customers that Palantir is here to stay and not to turn into a floundering business overnight. And also the same as Karp too. He points out the different way of running their business and viewing this as a true partnership with their customers, building and solving their problems, bringing value, and not just the means to financially engineer themselves into a higher revenue company, taking precedence over fundamental relationships of that successful work. All this has built up to them being recognized for that. And so I'm glad management had kind words to talk about their inclusion, giving their perspective and opinions, and giving an inside look that this wasn't some chance they did here by mistake, but rather by design in a way that they run their company. But also kind of validating too similar thoughts that I had about this achievement and providing another proxy for their customers and prospective ones to further deepen their trust and improve their probability of taking a chance on Palantir, even though their track record I'd say already speaks for itself. And most importantly, there's still a lot of work to do and continue to grow and serve their customers, which in turn should keep the trajectory of growth that a lot of folks seem to be now thinking about is in the cards for Palantir, at least when you look at the short-term price action we're seeing today. I still think it's important to celebrate the milestones because it really has shown the progress of the company, and for those who have been watching it for over the years and have participated, seeing them going public, being unprofitable, and then becoming GAAP profitable, launching AIP, the boot camps, and all the many things in between with the biggest deals, getting into the S&P 500 is definitely one of these moments that will be referenced for a long time. But what are your thoughts though below, and I'll see you in the next video.